Shalom, brothers and sisters. We're going to talk about this week's Torah portion briefly, which goes by the name Vayere. It begins with the first 7 plagues that will strike Egypt. We see how, with the strike of a staff, all of Egypt's waters, from rivers to kegs to jars to pots, is converted to blood. Now note the significance here. This is only happening to the land of Egypt. The neighboring brothers, the Israelites, are in the land of Gahash, and they are not affected by these plagues. So God is protecting his nation at this time. He's only affecting Egypt with these plagues. It's very important to understand and know this. We see the second plague of frogs, which are distributed across the land of Egypt, in the beds, in the ovens, in every nook and crevice possible. And then comes the third plague, lice, which strike the land. And we see how Pharaoh's sorcerers, magicians, who are able to use evil forces and powers to reenact the first and second plague, they come to a bafflement. And they realize and say that this is the hand of God doing these plagues. But as we know, Pharaoh's heart is stubborn, right? We even see in the second plague when the frogs, what does Pharaoh say? Please, I will let you leave and go pray out of Egypt, if you remove the frogs. And Moses did so, but Pharaoh's heart was so stubborn he did not let them go. And that moves us on to the fourth plague. We see that wild beasts destroy the land of Egypt. We're seeing how through these plagues, Egypt is being struck down and down and down, destroyed. And Pharaoh, again, like usual, offers the Hebrews to go out and continue with their prayer outside the land. His heart is stubborn. It does not let them go. We see the livestock epidemic that destroys all of Egypt's livestock into extinction, basically. Kills them all off. But the land of Gaash left totally clean. Note the significance here. The distinctive difference between the land of Gaash, where the Jews, Israel's nation, is located, and the land of Egypt. They are brothering neighbors to each other. They're brothers to each other. They work as one. But only one is being affected, right? Because of the stubbornness of their leader, the stubbornness of the nation. We see the dust, the ashes, that flow into the air and bring blister boils upon the people and livestock. We see flaming hail happen. And Pharaoh says, after this happens, this is the hand of God doing this. This is God. But he still does not let his people, God's people, go free. And Moses stops the hail. He's listening to him, but he notices his heart is stubborn. We see 2 neighbors, and although one is evil to the other, we see the stubbornness that one has. In our life, one of us may be extremely stubborn to accept the truth, to accept freedom, to release something so valuable to them that they find in this earthly world. And what I'm saying here is we see how Pharaoh, he has the land of Gaash, the Israelites, as his slaves. They've built his empire. They've done everything for him for almost nothing. And so to him, this nation is so important. It's such a materialistic thing. It provides for his nation. It grows it. Without them, he has measly nothing. Right? So, in our life, we may be not on the right path. We may be in the hardness of our heart. We may be an average Christian today who has this harshness in his heart when someone is telling them the truth. When someone is trying to show them the correct way, the way of the istina, the truth that the Lord wants us to live by, to follow his law, to come closer to him, to grow to him. Some people rather prefer the materialistic ways, just like Egypt. The Pharaoh preferred to have the Israelites, who would make it easier for him to build this, to grow the empire. Just like Christians today, it makes them easier to not listen to the law, to ignore the law. Oh, Jesus fulfilled the law. We don't need the law. Because it gives them an easier materialistic life, and their heart is stubborn. It is hardened. And a lot of our brothers and neighbors, we're brothers and neighbors, have a hardened heart. And unfortunately, sometimes God can work through us. Like he works, not unfortunately, this is fortunate, that God can work through us to get close to our neighbor, so that our neighbor will realize the truth. You understand the concept that is being explained here? The concept is plain and simple. Neighbors to each other can have stubbornness. That stubbornness has to be broken. And we see how Pharaoh's will eventually break. But it has to break in a way that changes the person. We will see in the next Torah portion how Pharaoh, he breaks free, but he's not changed. He lets them go, but he's going to run after Israel. He has not changed. He has not found peace and truth in the change that he has done. So if we find change, if we bring change, first off, we need this change. We need to come to the truth and life, because that's how you get life. That's how you get everlasting life. Without that, we're nobody. We're dead. We will have plagues fall upon us when we are walking in the ways of the earth and Satan. So we have to follow the correct way to be saved. Like Israel was saved by the hand of God, led out of the land of Egypt. We have to follow the correct ways of what God teaches us to be saved. It's clear as day that we have to have a connection with him. And in order to do that, we cannot have hearts of stubbornness. And we have to change. We have to repent. We have to change ourselves and grow. Not change and go back on our idea like Pharaoh will later on. We have to stay with the change, with the truth, and be with the Lord, or else we will die. What will happen to Pharaoh? We see Pharaoh's going to go into the ocean, and there goes his empire. Into the Black Sea. Disappeared. Just like that. Everything. Just like if we don't follow the ways, we run after what we have let go in our life. So, if we were a Christian and we let go of fornication, whatever this, waiting till marriage, right? And we accept the truth, but then run back to that, grabbing that, it will bring us death. So we know that the Torah is understood not only physically, but you can understand this on a spiritual level so much. And we see how the image of Pharaoh, his stubbornness, is what many friends and family members and people, even us, can have that in our lives. We can have that stubbornness to hold on to something that is earthly, whether it's money or whatever. Whatever is upholding us from listening to the truth, listening to the hand of God. And we see how Pharaoh, right, he's holding on to Israel. He's not letting them go. And he's not listening to the Lord. He's being stubborn. And we see how that could bring plagues upon your nation. It brought plagues upon his nation. It could bring plagues upon you. And we see that when he will free them later on in the next Torah portion, he second guesses his thoughts, and he will run after it, and it will cause him and his nation to perish. It's important from what we've learned here that if we do come to the truth from our neighbor who shows us the power of the Lord, he's going to show us the power of the Lord, and it opens up to us to the truth. And that is, those of you watching, those of you listening, that is our job. It's to bring others to the truth and Istina that the Lord has opened our eyes up to. And if we run back, if we come to the truth and run back to the evil ways of the world, of what we left behind when we repented and converted, it will bring us death. So, everyone, hopefully you understood and tried to recap what I was trying to say here in this Torah portion at the end. But very important detail of the life of Pharaoh, of his acts and his deeds, and God's hand and power that does this upon the land of Egypt. We learn a lot, and hopefully everyone understands that here we have to bring our brothers and neighbors together, because ultimately a stubborn heart will lead to death.